Hey everyone, it is way too nice to be inside today, so I'm outside here in sunny South Florida. And today we're going to be talking about the difference between optimizing your ads for clicks versus optimizing your ads for conversations. What do you mean conversations, Bill? I've never even heard of that before. Okay, well, we need to step back a minute and talk about some psychology. The reason why we run ads in the first place, right, is because we want someone to buy from us, right? We want to buy the product or service that we have to offer, naturally, right? So I want to talk about this just for a second. What conditions need to be in place in order for somebody to buy from you right on the spot? They see your ad and they immediately buy. What has to happen? Well, in my mind, the only way that I personally would buy something is that fast is if I already knew that I wanted it, number one, and then number two, I already have some sort of trust in the person that's offering it, okay? Now, let's take the flip side of that. What if I see something online that I'm interested in and I don't know the person and I'm not even quite sure that I want it? Matter of fact, I see it, it looks kind of cool, but I'm not quite sure that it's actually something that I want, so I need to learn a little bit more about it. So now what is my approach going to be? Am I immediately going to jump on it and buy it just because the company spent money on an ad? Well, of course not, right? It almost sounds ridiculous when you say it that way. So what do I want instead? Well, I need to learn more about the product or service, and I need to learn more about the person that's offering it before I decide to spend any money. So the thought of someone who would be considered cold traffic buying from you right away just because you spent money on an ad just doesn't sound quite right anymore, does it? Right. So if you think about your own buying habits, just because you see an ad, does it mean you automatically buy it? Of course not, right? So let's talk about the difference between clicks and conversations. A lot of this depends on the business that you're in, but one of the reasons that I'm so enthusiastic about sales funnels in particular is because if I'm going to optimize for clicks, what am I really doing? What I'm really doing is I'm looking for X number of people that see my ad to click through, and what I'm expecting is I'm not expecting them to buy something from me right away. So if that's your expectation, that's probably the biggest issue. What I'm expecting is that they're clicking through to learn more about me. So now what do I need to do? Well, now what I need to do is I need to educate, motivate, and inspire that person to so they make the decision that they do want to do business with me, that they do want to buy the product or service that I have to offer. Does that make sense? Right? So I'm not expecting somebody to buy right off the bat necessarily. What I'm looking for is for them to give me the opportunity to educate them on my product or service. So if you see it that way, the click becomes very important, but what comes after the click is even more important, because once they click, I now need to have something to share with them, right? Something of value so they can learn more about the product, they can learn more about the service, and more importantly, they can learn something about me. So the question is in your process, are you trying to go too fast? Are you skipping a step along the way? Are you just running an ad like on a billboard and expecting somebody to buy immediately without earning their trust first? If so, would you buy like that? I think that's a great question to ask yourself. Or would you want to know more? All right? So when you're converting for clicks, one of the most important things that you can do at that point is provide some valuable content. Provide a way for people to engage with you and learn more about you so that they do make the educated decision on their own. They're approaching you to do business with you. So how can we do that? Well, if somebody clicks, they could go to your sales funnel and they could download a book or a worksheet or something of value that they can use immediately, right? Something that they can take and have immediate action on. If they're interested in a product, it's something that educates them about the product that's short and sweet and concise so that they understand a little bit more fully without making any kind of commitment or any kind of purchase. That's one way they could do it. Another way they could do it is you could direct them to your podcast, or you could direct them towards your YouTube channel, and they can learn more about you that way. So for example, if you're listening to me on a podcast, you're learning a lot more about me and to see whether or not what I have to say resonates with you and makes sense. If you're watching me on YouTube, you're doing the same thing. You're learning more about me. You're exploring a little bit more about me to see who I am before you decide that you, to see if I have any value to you as far as helping you grow your business, correct? All right, so that's another way that you can do it. Another way you can do it is you can invite somebody into a Facebook group, so now they can participate and see what you have to say and more of what you have to offer, maybe even participate in a live session. That's another way. What else could you do? You could invite them to a webinar training session, right? So you can educate somebody more particularly on a specific thing that has to do with your product or service. So the question is if you're optimizing for clicks, what happens after they click? Are you expecting the kiss on the first date? Or are you bringing them in and starting to nurture that relationship? Are you starting to build trust? And are you giving them anything of value that they can watch, listen to, learn about in order to want to do business with you? Okay? So now let's talk about optimizing for conversations. In my business, I love to optimize for conversations. There's nothing better than if I can sit down across from someone and literally have a conversation with them, almost like if we were sitting down having a cup of coffee. And I would simply ask them some very straightforward questions. Hey, tell me a little bit more about you, right? And then I would be quiet and I would use my 2 ears to listen. I want to learn more about the person to see if and how I can actually help that person. I would ask them a little bit more about their business, right? What kind of business you're in. Get interested in that person. Then what do I want to do? What I want to do from there is I want to start asking them what their challenges are. What challenges you're facing, because obviously you're looking for a specific result. You're not getting that. Let me listen to you and see if I can help you. So if you're optimizing for conversations, now what do you want to have happen? Okay? Well, if I run an ad and somebody comes to me, obviously I need to be able to communicate with that person in some way, right? So I could invite that person to a webinar. I could invite that person again to get my free book or my free handout or whatever it is that I want to give away. And then at that point, I can start to reach out to them via email or via text or phone call, whatever it is, and I can start a conversation. So what happens there is if you're optimizing for conversation, you're looking at, okay, how much money am I spending on my ad? And then from my ad, how many opt-ins am I getting? And the number of opt-ins that I get determines the amount of conversations or appointments that I can set to start to communicate with somebody on a one-on-one basis. Now, I may be doing that myself if I've got a smaller business, or I may have a team, right? I may have somebody that does that reaching out and they talk to the person initially to pre-qualify them to see if that's a person that is committed enough to be ready to actually talk to me, okay? So let's go back and review. If you're optimizing for clicks, make sure that whatever your offer is, once they click, that you're providing some kind of valuable content and you are expanding on their opportunity to learn more about you, okay? So then this is where the presentation comes in. If you're missing the presentation, we need to talk, right? We need to talk about how do I build out that presentation in order to get that person from where they are now to become an actual paying customer of yours. If you are optimizing for conversations, again, we need to talk about that as well, because now it changes the game a little bit. What we're really looking to do is give them something of value in exchange for their contact information so we can reach out and start an actual conversation. It's not about selling them something up front. It's about determining whether or not we're going to be a good fit as a business and a customer, client, or member. So hopefully all of that makes sense. So what do you do to learn more about me if you don't know that much about me already? Well, you're going to basically do what I'm going to basically present exactly what I just talked about, an opportunity to learn more and to connect. So you would go to my website, right, to my domain name, which is billstorm.com. And when you get on that webpage, you are going to see an opportunity to download my book. There's no credit card required. You just put in your email address and you can get my book, and you can learn a little bit more about me and what I do, right? I also give you the opportunity to connect with me socially via different platforms, right? Podcasting, YouTube, Facebook, so on and so forth. And then I also give you another option to take more of a deep dive and attend a webinar session, okay? So now you have a lot of opportunities to learn more about me, to see if you feel that I can actually help you, and if you feel that I can. You're either going to reach out to me, or I'm going to reach out to you, and I may reach out to you and invite you to a specific type of webinar. I may reach out to you personally and just ask you a question. I may ask to see if you wanted to set up a 15-minute call with me for me to learn more about you personally. All of that might happen, okay? So there's the difference between optimizing for clicks and optimizing for conversations. Hopefully that gave you a lot of value today. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. My email address is billstorm@billstorm.com, or you can reach me just by going through my website there, right, at billstorm.com, and just start out by downloading my free book. Okay, thanks so much, and we'll look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.